What's up guys, this is Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to check your valve clearance on your Raptor 700. Checking the valve clearance on your machine should be a part of your routine maintenance, but unfortunately a lot of people just let this go until the machine either is hard to start or it just doesn't run right. So some symptoms of valves that are out of adjustment are you can have some top end noise. This is going to be your tappets. There's too much clearance in there. And on the other hand, if the valve clearance is too tight, the machine is going to be hard to start. It won't idle very well. And if this goes unchecked, valves that are too tight can eventually get burned. So that's why it's important to stay up on this maintenance. We're going to show you how easy it can be to stay up on this, and this is going to help prevent any issues while you're out on the trail. Now this machine we're working on, this is an 08 Raptor 700, but the procedure is pretty much going to be the same for all of the 700s, and the maintenance interval on this is going to be the initial 20 hours of use and then every 160 hours after that. So a good way to keep up on that is just install an hour meter. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to get these valves checked and adjusted. To do this job, we have some rags, safety glasses, rubber gloves, some common hand tools, and specifically I want to point out that we have feeler gauges. We have these tappet tools from Motion Pro. We've got some seals from the OEM diagram, and then we also have a spark plug. Always refer to your model-specific service manual for more information, proper procedures, and specs. Before starting any work, we're going to make sure the engine is at room temperature. Then we need to gain access to the valve. So to do that, we're going to remove the seat, the front plastics, front fender, gas tank, and the plastic tray under the gas tank. And when you're taking this gas tank off, you'll notice that these bolts going down have some spacers they go through, and you want to make sure you don't lose them. As you can see, we've got a lot of filth down here on our covers, so we're going to clean that up. Now we can remove the tappet covers. And then we'll also remove the 3 timing covers on the left side of the engine. For our valve adjustment, we are going to have to turn the engine over, and to make it easier to turn over by hand, we're going to remove this spark plug, and when we're going to reassemble everything, since we already have it out, we're going to throw a new spark plug in. To check the valve clearances, we need to get the engine on top dead center compression. So to do that, we have a timing mark on our cam chain sprocket right here. We need to bring that all the way up to this line right in the top of our cylinder head cover. To do that, I'm going to turn the engine counterclockwise until it lines up. And the easy way to tell is right after your intake valves go down, they'll come back up and that line should be getting close right there. With the timing mark on the cam sprocket lined up, you want to verify that the timing marks on the flywheel line up with this notch on the flywheel cover, and that verifies that your valves are correctly timed. If they don't line up, then you need to fix that timing. All right, to measure these intake valves, I'm going to take my feeler gauge, and the spec on these is 0.09 millimeters to 0.13 millimeters. So I'm going to start on the tighter side. This is my 0.09 millimeter gauge. I'm going to try to insert this in between the valve tappet, this piece coming down here, and the top of the valve. And the minimum measurement wouldn't fit on that. So I'm going down to a 0.05 millimeter. And when you slide this in between, you do want to have a little bit of drag on this gauge. You don't want to have to force it in, but you don't want it to where there's no resistance. So this one's a little loose, so I'm going to try one size bigger. This is our 0.06 millimeter gauge. This one almost wants to go in, but it's too tight. I'm really having to force it through, and there's a lot of drag. So we'll go ahead and we're going to measure this other side too. So now that we've taken our measurements, these are both too tight. This one is that 0.05 millimeter, and then this one's at 0.06 millimeter. So we're going to adjust them both, and to do that, we're going to use our Motion Pro Tappet tool. So I'm going to loosen the jam nuts on both of the tappets. And then I'm going to back off both of these tappets, and I'm going to pick a number between the 0.09 and 0.13 millimeter gauges. I'm using the 0.10 feeler gauge. We'll install that and then lightly tighten the tappet until you have just a little bit of drag on the feeler gauge, and then you can tighten down the jam nut. So when we tighten this down, you want to make sure the tappet doesn't move, so I'm going to hold that centerpiece and then tighten the nut. Now that we have this jam nut tightened down, we want to make sure that the tappet didn't move while we were tightening it down. So you're going to recheck the clearance, and if the clearance did change, you're going to readjust it and check it again. If it didn't, you can go ahead and move on to the next tappet. If it was out of adjustment like ours, you'll do the same procedures to get that in spec. Then we can move on and adjust the valves on the exhaust side. For the exhaust valves, our spec is 0.16 to 0.20 millimeters. We'll check those, and if either one is out of adjustment, we'll make that adjustment the same way we did on the intake side. Once we've done that, we can reassemble everything. Now, keep in mind that it is recommended to use new O-rings on these covers, and that way you avoid having oil leaks coming from them. And don't forget, we removed the old spark plug to help turn the engine over easier, but when you're going back together, we do recommend using a new spark plug, and that way it's going to help you get the best performance out of the machine. And the bolts for these covers are going to be torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds. Once you have all that taken care of, we'll reinstall the gas tank and plastics the same way they came off. And that's all there is to checking and adjusting the valves on your Raptor 700. It's really not that bad of a job to do, and doing this is going to help keep your engine running properly. And if you need any parts or special tools, check out our website. We also have a lot of accessories on there. And for more content like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.